Shalum. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. This series, the final Exodus Countdown 2023, speculation or warning? Time will prove whether these words are true or not. But as for me and those who spirit are stirred and discern and bear witness to these words, I am compelled to present these messages before an awakening set-apart nation, consisting of Hebrews and Gentiles, or Abraham and Goyim, Goyim meaning other nations. Only those who are drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah to Yahusha Mashiach, as written in John 6:44. Within the series, the final Exodus Countdown 2023 is a sub-series entitled Set Apart Yashar'al in Motion. This is the 18th installment of Set Apart Yashar'al in Motion as it relates to the final Exodus Countdown 2023. My name is Symmanayah, and before I continue, let me say this: the views and messages that I present do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and or their sponsors. With that said, let's get started. My brothers and sisters, I will present the case regarding wheat and tares. With a measuring rod that is capable of measuring maturity, wheat, tares, maturity. Prepared to witness the process for separating wheat and tares. And I know many of you will say that the scripture says, wait. My brothers and sisters, I will present the case that when the harvest is ripe, and it says the laborers are few, it's speaking of the harvest, the harvesting of the mature being separated from the tares, the wicked, the evil. And will there be some brothers and sisters separated? Indeed, they will, due to unbelief, led astray. But the Almighty Father has them in his hand. But for those that are not drawn by him, for those that are not set apart children of Yahuah, a different outcome awaits. My brothers and sisters, as I peruse the YouTube sphere and other platforms from time to time, as I examine the words from those who are most outspoken, you have one brother that's all over the place, searching from sea to sea, trying to determine what's true and which direction to go, stumbling and falling, moving with every wind or doctrine. Beware of such, for this individual wastes much time on things that are not set apart. There's another outspoken one who lifts up his community, his own ego, his own image, more so than Yahusha Mashiach. There are others who laugh and joke and giggle while presenting messages such as in such times as these. There's nothing funny in this spiritual battle. Folly, there's no room for it, O Yashar'al. There are others who present their camps and lift them up more than Yahusha. And I can go on and on and on. But our focus should be on Yahusha Mashiach, lifting him up in worship and obedience. My brothers and sisters, there are those that will tell you that the wheat and tares, that's something that will happen when Yahusha returns, but have not given thought to the true nature of a harvest. And I will present the case that there are many harvests going on daily where a person's spirit is harvested from the body. The body goes to the grave and the spirit goes to Yahuah, in that resting place for those that are his, and to hell to those that are not. You see, daily there's a harvest, O Yashar'al. And many of us have fallen to the ill teachings that the harvest will not ultimately take place, or will not take place until Yahusha's return or into Judgment Day. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, once a person physically dies, their destination as it relates to a harvest have been sealed. So I say to you, O Yashar'al, it's not a wait till Yahusha return before that happens. Many misinterpret that passage, and I will share it in a minute. Wheat and tares. Of course, while young, while like seedlings, it is difficult to determine between the wheat and the tare. And I will present the case that in maturity, we will be able to identify the wheat versus the tare, prepared to witness the process for separating such. Let me continue, O Yashar'al. Whether you believe these words are true or not, time will prove whether what I'm saying to you is correct. Let us begin with the word harvest. Come with me to Matthew 9, verse 37 and 38. Then he said to his taught ones, the harvest truly is great, but the workers are few. Pray then that the master of the harvest would send out workers to his harvest. You see, my brothers and sisters, he's not saying wait to Judgment Day before we witness the harvest. He's saying the harvest is truly great now. The identifying of the mature, the wheat, the set apart, and I'm saying wheat, W-H-E-A-T. And when we look at mature plants, as it relates to wheat and tares, we can discern, we can identify the difference between wheat and tares. For when they mature, their characteristics are obvious. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, the harvest truly is plenty. It's truly great. More and more deaths are increasing in these end times. What do you think is happening? It's a separation. It's a harvesting of the spirit of the set-apart ones to that place where Yahuah has us. What is harvest? When you harvest a fruit, you pick the right fruit. When you harvest wheat and grain, you pick the right grain, the fruit, the vegetables. It's a separation. You don't wait till they die and then you try to harvest them. You see, so many people take positions of scriptures because they read it as the letter without leaning on the Spirit of the Almighty Father to make alive what he's saying, to make alive what his word is saying to us when he talks about the harvest is great. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, let us reflect on what happens during harvest. We examine, we look. Some cases we may feel and touch. And when the fruit or grain is ripe, by sight or by touch or by taste, it is then separated from the vine or the tree. You see, harvest is a time of separation. It's a time of set apartness. It's a time for us to let the Spirit of Yahusha reveal to us the wheat versus the tare. My brothers and sisters, I want to say this. There's a lot of Hebrews, mores, teachers, even Gentiles who claim to follow or pursue our way of life, our way of worship, who are very outspoken with many subscribers or many followers. It's a lot of them, my brothers and sisters. But over the years, as time is moving closer to that physical return of Yahushua Mashiach, as time is moving forward to our final exodus, look at them. They're starting to look, some of them are starting to look like tares, bolstering their own ego, boasting what they claim the Most High is telling them, and he's not. There's a lot of them that as time is pressing forward into these end times, they do not have answers for you. for me. I say to you, O Yashar'al, as we draw closer and closer to the end, we must look at those who lead and teach, those who claim to be seekers or watchmen. Are they providing the words of instruction that point us to Yahusha Mashiach? Are they providing instructions, orders, warnings that's pertinent to us drawing closer in worship and obedience to the Almighty Father? Are they preparing us in the event of their demise? Watch the separation. It's becoming more and more obvious that most of these so-called teachers or influencers all about the world, as we draw closer to end times, they're starting to look ripe. And that ripeness is not that of wheat. But do not be swift to judge, O Yashar'al. Be swift to discern whether the Spirit of Yahusha is indeed revealing to you that this is a tare and not a wheat. You see, O Yashar'al, to make it to wheat or tares, it begins with the seed. The seed. We must consider the importance of the seed, for it forges our expectations of what to look for as the seed matures. Consider these words, O Yashar'al, for the importance of the seed. You cannot get wheat from a tare seed. You cannot get tare from a wheat seed. But as they mature, we're able to determine whether it's a wheat or tare. But if we are swift in using just our eyes and ears and disregard the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah, we're subject to judge incorrectly and wrongly. But there will be judgment. Are you not aware that it is written that judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first? My brothers and sisters, what do you think that is? What do you think judgment beginning at the house? We identify things that are not set apart versus things that are. 1 Peter 4:17. But tread very carefully and prayerfully, my brothers and sisters. The harvest, before one physically dies, we will witness actions of many that will prove that they are indeed our brother. They are indeed representative of the wheat. Come with me, O Yashar'al, to Acts 3:25 and 26. For it reads, you are sons of the prophets and of the covenant which the Almighty One made with our fathers, saying to Abraham, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. To you first, the Almighty One, having raised up his servant Yahusha, sent him to bless you in turning away each one of you from your wicked ways. The seed, Yahusha Mashiach. If we are the seed of the Almighty Father, as a result of Yahusha Mashiach, the ultimate seed, then we are the wheat. Galatians 3:15 and 16 say, brothers, as a man I say it, a covenant, even though it is man's, yet if it is confirmed, no one sets it aside or adds to it. But the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. He does not say, and to his seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, who is Messiah. Speaking of Yahusha. Let me continue, my brothers and sisters. For walking filled with the Spirit, walking with the Spirit of Yahusha within us, joined with our spirit, we are indeed representatives of the seed of Abraham. Isaiah 41:8 says, but thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, hear these words. Art my servant. Bear with me a second, my brothers and sisters. I want to check something out here. Yeah, I want to make that correction in Isaiah 41:8. That's from a translation that I do not use. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, for many years, teachers, mores, pastors, bishops, individuals, for many years, have taken this subject of wheat and tares to mean you wait until Yahusha's return before we witness the separation of wheat and tares. That is incorrect, my brothers and sisters. You see, there are many things that people are saying and teaching that fuel slothfulness, laziness. It distracts one from doing the work that is required to identify wheat and tares. My brothers and sisters. Okay. It says, but you, Israel, are my servant, Yaakov, whom I have chosen, the descendants of Abraham, who love me, that he hath chosen. Isaiah 43:5 said, do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, separation is coming. Now there will be some tares amongst the gathered, for they will be young, unlearned, some that will try to mimic the family of set-apart Yashar'al. But there will be those mature in their actions, obviously not the wheat. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, we will grow to appreciate the power in seed, as well as our seeds. But what makes it singular is the set-apartness, the function of set-apartness, the position of set-apartness. Consider these words, O Yashar'al. Another parable he put before them, saying, the rain of the heavens have become like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed darnel. Some translations say tares among the wheat and went away. And when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel also appeared. See, this is where they mess up and they misstep, saying, oh, that's not going to happen till Yahushua return. It says here, when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel appeared. This happened daily. For there are those who have been singing the same song, preaching the same words, who have gone astray. Some pushing their own self-agenda, their own egos. So therefore they are as the blade that's sprouting up, bearing the fruit of a tare. The servants of the master of the house came and said, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? From where then does it have the darnel or the tares? He said to him, a man, an enemy, did this. And the servant said to him, do you wish then that we go and gather them up? And he said, no, least while you gather up the darnel, you also uproot the wheat with them. You see, there are some brothers that are teachers, that are mores or pastors. They just misstep. They're just making a mistake. So we don't just aggressively separate them thinking that they are tares or darnel. You see, the enemy thinks and wants us to look at the text in the letter and go run with that. And we are not to do that. We are to look at the life in the scriptures. Let the Spirit of Yahusha guide us and tell us when things would be separated. Otherwise, we may make a mistake and do the wrong thing to a brother or a sister. He said, Don't mess with them. At least you gather up Donald, you also uproot the wheat. They are intertwined in many ways, but not all. And then it is not impossible that the separation will happen for those who are mature in producing and projecting erroneous teachings and practices and behaviors. He said, let them both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I shall say to the reapers, first gather the darnel and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my granary. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, have you not read that once one passed, once we face physical death, that there are those that are his that go to that granary, that resting place, and the tares go to hell, Sheol, the grave, a place of torment before the physical resurrection, before judgment day. There's a separation that takes place upon death. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, some will be obvious wicked ones. As they mature more and more, we will see their deception, and some will not. So let us not be rushed to determine one or the other, but let us not ignore the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah that tells us to come away or to purge or to separate. Harvest will come, and in harvest, the wheat and the tares will be identified. And I say to you, there's a harvest that goes on each day, O Yashar'al. Listen and believe the realities, my brothers and sisters. Know this, there are different times of harvest. You see, one who the planter learns how many yields they can get from a specific fruit, vegetable, or grain. In other words, several times in a year, there are some plants that produce a harvest. In different times of the year, there's a harvest among us, a harvest of individuals coming out of the way of the world and into set of partners, a harvest that identifies correction, a harvest that reflects wheat, that represents set of partners many times of the year. But there will also be times of pruning, cutting off, coming away from. Consider Matthew chapter 10. Come with me, my brothers and sisters. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 through 39. For it reads, do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against a mother, a daughter-in-law against a mother-in-law, and a man's enemy are those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. And he who has not found his life shall lose it. He who has found his life shall lose it. And he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, this is a separation ordered by the Spirit of Yahusha. Make no mistake, those that are set aside or separated and set apartness represents wheat. Those who we are to come away from and purge represent tares. But make no mistake, we must let him guide us through. We cannot establish a law from text and think we do that with everyone. Lest we make a mistake, O Yashar'al. But in these end times, we will begin to identify those walking in obedience, those who reflect the characteristics of wheat. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Wisdom demands more than talking, more than just talk. We must learn to act. We must learn to work. We must know what to do during the harvest. We must learn where to go, when to be still. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, let us come away from slothfulness and be mindful of what is expected for such a time as this. It is very important to identify the origins of influence. It's important to examine all things, my brothers and sisters. Ask questions, pray, study, seek to discern what the Almighty Father is saying to us. Consider Philippians 1:9 through 11. I've mentioned it on more than one occasion. It reads, "For this I pray, that your love might extend more and more, and knowledge and all discernment." See, that's the key, discernment, when it comes to wheat and tares. It said, "For you to examine the matters that differ, in order to be sincere and not stumbling until the day of Messiah, being filled with the fruit of righteousness through Yahusha Messiah, to the esteem and praise of the Almighty One." Examine things, my brothers and sisters. Examine the matters to see whether they are different. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Seek to understand the life in these words as well. Proverbs 3:9-10 says, "Esteem Yahuah with your goods, and with the first fruits of all your increase. Then your storehouses shall be filled with plenty, and your vats overflow with new wine." There's the literal, and there's the spiritual. There's the endless lessons we can get from this passage. And one is this, O Yashar'al. In order to recognize first fruits and increase, there was a separation. There was a harvest. And I can assure you, in the literal, they did not harvest tares to put in the storehouses. They harvest the wheat or fruit, or you couldn't get new wine out of tares. You see, therefore, O Yashar'al, do not think this is something that will happen when Yahushua return or only on Judgment Day. There's a harvest that requires us to examine things as the Spirit of Yahushua open our eyes. Come with me to James 1:18. It says, having purposed it, having purposed it, he brought us forth by the word of truth, for us to be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. It didn't say after we die. Let us examine matters regarding wheat and tares. Let us examine where we should be, who should be among us. For in the gathering for the final exodus, the 144,000 in great multitude, and the coming together of set apart ones who may not be a part of the final exodus. Are you not aware that the Almighty Father instructed Yashar'al when they did a harvest to leave some food at the four corners of the field for the poor? Yes, this is written in scriptures. They were instructed not to take everything. Just as they was instructed then, so will it be in these final days. There will be some of us left behind for the poor in spirit, the unlearned, the sheep that had fallen away or misled momentarily. And so some of us may be, just as food was left at the four corners of the field, some of us may be left behind. As destruction comes, we're the final words for the poor in spirit. To hear, to be encouraged that this is the plan of the Almighty Father. And there will be those who will be martyrs for Yahusha's name. Come with me, O Yashar'al. The wheat and the tares. There's work in a harvest. But let us be guided by the Spirit of Yahuah, lest we make a mistake and gather up and separate the wrong. Another parable, come with me to Matthew 13th chapter, verse 24 through 30. Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 through 30. Another parable he put before them, saying, the rain of the heavens have become like a man who sowed seed in his field. Notice again, I talked about this, and I'm repeating it. Notice the 26th verse said, when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel also appeared. You see, O Yashar'al, we must understand what is happening here. My family, we must be mindful. We must discern when judgment has its place. That's a judgment that comes as a result of the Spirit of Yahusha working within us, bringing to remembrance scriptures, bringing to remembrance his orders, his guidance on how to render a decision and how to make separations, how to come away, how to purge. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, time is very important when judgment is executed. So many camps, groups, and communities, so many fellowships allow different cliques to form, but they don't exercise discipline or judgment because they want the size of their numbers to be there. There are so many people that tolerate compromising gatherings. They know people are talking about them as leaders, but they won't purge them. They know individuals fight against them, but they won't purge them. But the harvest is plenteous. The time to harvest, to identify the strong, the mature, and the ones we can't assure, we do nothing short of pushing, lifting up the ways of Yahusha, the ways of set apartness. Consider these words in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through 6 says, do not judge, lest you be judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with the same measure you use, it shall be measured to you. So he's saying, do not judge, lest you be judged. But some think that means don't judge at all. If that was the case, what do you think it means by judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first? And how does he reflect that judgment if it's not through his set apart ones? This is saying, do not judge, lest you be judged, just you going with the freedom of self, judging someone. Unrighteous judgment. But there's a judgment that is executed as led by the Spirit of Yahuah. He goes on to examine. Why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye and see a plank in your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is set apart to dogs, nor throw your pearls before the pigs, lest they trample them under feet and turn and tear you in pieces. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the work, the actions that must come to be. Let us run this race with discipline. Let us begin to ask what it takes for Exodus to be successful. What are we doing? Are we busy scratching each other's back? Quid pro quo? If I do this for you, you do this for me? Or are we focused on set apart obedience? You see, there's a judgment that is executed by the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha. Consider these words in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 through 16. It said, but as it has been written, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what the Almighty One has prepared for those who love him. But the Almighty One has revealed them to us through his Spirit. For the Spirit searches all matters, even the depths of the Almighty One. For who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the spirit of the man that is in him. That is the Spirit of Yahusha within us, joined with our spirit. So also the thoughts of the Almighty One, no one has known except the Spirit of the Almighty One. And we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from the Almighty One, in order to know what the Almighty One has favorably given us, which we also speak, not in words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the set-apart Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual matters with spiritual matters. But the natural man does not receive the matters of the Spirit of the Almighty One, for they are foolishness to him, and he is unable to know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he who is spiritual discerns indeed all matters, but he himself is discerned by no one. When it say no one, it's saying no man, woman, or child. But we are discerned of the Spirit of Yahuah working in us one towards another. That means he may work through a man, a woman, or a child to us. But when it says he himself is discerned by no one, it's saying in terms of fleshly defining what a person is doing based off our own mental abilities. For who has known the mind of Yahuah? Who shall instruct him? But we have the mind of Messiah. You see, my brothers and sisters, we must understand how this judgment works. There will be times of emotional distress, heartache and pain, O Yashar'al, in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of tsunami, volcanoes, and earthquakes, in the midst of soon-to-see asteroids, meteors, hitting the earth with such intense destruction, forcing movement back to the region where life began. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, the final exodus will come to be. The promises from the Almighty Father will prove to be true. Yes, there will be a gathering of the wicked, ultimately in the valley of Megiddo, to march against the house of Yahuah. So they will meet up in Megiddo before they start marching towards where we will be encamped, around the true Mount Sinai, commonly known as Jabal al-Lawz. It is situated in what is now known as Saudi Arabia, in the northwest quadrant. And until most recently, it is made available for tourism to a degree by the Saudi government. The true Mount Sinai, or Yashar'al, that is the focal point. That is the axle or the central point of Ezekiel's will for our final destination and structure as a set-apart awakening nation before the physical return of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, know and understand the power of discernment. It is when Yahusha reveals. And the best thing I can say to you, O Yashar'al, is study the scriptures with a prayerful mind and intent to worship and obey him. And you will learn how he brings the scriptures and make them whole, how he will bring them to remembrance as he guide you, me, us. It is when the Spirit of Yahusha reveals. I'm not speaking of the discernment that man used in the Webster Dictionary. I'm speaking of discernment when Yahusha reveals. And we can't make him reveal. You see, O Yashar'al, the enemy wants us to think it's something we can get, and then we got it, and we'll be as Yahusha. Don't fall for that. True discernment, the ultimate discernment, is what the Spirit of Yahusha reveals. And you'll know because it will line up with the scriptures, not in part, in whole. Remember, there are those who have been dumbfounded, made blind because of their ill intent. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, I presented this and compelled to present it again. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Each of us will grow to know obedience is better than sacrifice. Consider the words of Samuel. 1 Samuel 15, 22 and 23. 1 Samuel 15, 22 and 23. It reads, and Samuel said, does Yahuah delight in ascending offerings and slaughtering, as in obeying the voice? Yahuah, look, to obey is better than the slaughtering, to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as the wickedness of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuah, he also does reject you as sovereign. There's the literal message here, and there's the broader message that speaks to us, O Yashar'al, letting us know that obedience is better than sacrifice. And in this harvest, there are living instructions. Our eyes will be opened. We will be able to identify the wheat from the tares. We will be led by his spirit, and those who jump the gun, so to speak, those who are overly anxious, undiscerning, if they jump out there trying to identify the wheat or the tare, will make a mistake. It is in the maturity, it is when the blade bring forth fruit that we are able to identify. And I say right now, O Yashar'al, there are those who are reaching their end, who are demonstrating wickedness, erroneous teaching, egotistical positions, hidden agendas to satisfy their own gain. But there are those who will be reproved and refined and will rise up renewed as a result of the blood of the Lamb and the living Spirit of Yahusha. Obedience, O Yashar'al, let us know what we must do during these harvest times. Prepare to witness successful gatherings, successful harvesting of the set-apart ones, the wheat, the mature wheat, those that are in maturity. And many of us may not know, but there are the anointed, there are the discerning, there are those whom the Almighty Father will prove with power what is wheat, what is the tare, what is to be stored, what is to be released. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, consider these words in Proverbs 10, verse 27 through 32. For it reads, the fear of Yahuah prolonged days, but the years of the wrong ones are shortened. The righteous look forward to joy, but the expectancy of the wrong ones perish. The way of Yahuah is a stronghold for the perfect, but ruin to the workers of wickedness. The righteous is never shaken, while the wrong shall not dwell in the earth. The mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the tongue of perverseness is cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is pleasing, but the mouth of the wrong speaks perverseness. The lips of the righteous, to be speaking, to fall into the category of the lips of the righteous and know what's pleasing, we must discern. We must recognize what the Spirit has to say to the matter and what scriptures that are made alive to support a matter. The mouth of the wrong speaks perverseness. It's a delicate subject when talking about the wheat and the tares. Discern what is needed for the harvest, O Yashar'al. Prayer without ceasing. Prayer always. Walking filled with the Spirit. Leaning into the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah. Seeking wise, set-apart counsel. Fellowship with set-apart ones that are walking in obedience, that are seeking to worship and obey the Almighty Father. The harvest truly is great. And watch. Understand again the definition of a harvest. There's a gathering, there's a separation going on. But the true harvest is the separation ordered by the Almighty Father. And we will recognize it. Pray and watch. For such a time as this, some serious things are about to come to be. And the instructions is, can we see? Can we hear? Can we discern what is expected of the one in the mirror? The one looking at the selfie? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Rise up, my brothers and sisters. A successful harvest requires discipline and work. Consider these words as I come close to a close. Proverbs 10:5 says, he who gathers in the summer is a wise son. He who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. You see, many are sleeping during these harvests because they don't know any better. My brothers and sisters, awakened to the words of the Almighty Father, awaken to the instructions of his set-apart leaders, teachers, guides, awaken to what is right. Come with me to Matthew chapter 9, verse 36 through 38. Matthew chapter 9, verse 36 to 38 says, and having seen the crowds, he was moved with compassion for them because they were weary and scattered as sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his taught ones, the harvest truly is great, but the workers are few. Pray then that the master of the harvest would send out workers to his harvest. That the master of the harvest will send out workers. The master is the Almighty Father Yahuah. And his word came to us in the name of Yahusha. His spirit sent to us in the name of Yahusha, as John 14:26 describes. So it is being sent by the master that we're able to identify the wheat versus the tare. If we're not led by his spirit, do not try to separate wheat and tare. Do not try to judge between the wheat and tare. But if the master have sent you, if the master of the harvest have directed you and guided you and equipped you, then make no mistake, there is work to be done regarding wheat and tares. And I say again, maturity is the factor from a natural and practical perspective. Maturity and spiritual maturity and set apart is the ultimate factor, discerning the voice of Abba Yahuah sent to us in Yahusha's name. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the Spirit of Yahushua will prove we are given the ability to identify wheat and tares. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. Do not sleep during harvest. Do not be slothful. After one has physically died, there's nothing to harvest. There's nothing to separate. It is a harvest that happens while we are physically alive. And once that ultimate harvest comes, we go into the granary, that resting place. We don't go to heaven or Symmanayah, as some would say. We go to Yahuah, that place where he has us. And the scriptures tell us it's a place of rest where we sleep. The body goes back to the earth. And for the non-side apart, a different end of torment awaits them. They go to a place called Hades or hell. And remember, even hell is burned in a lake of fire, as it is written in Revelation. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. There will be separations during harvest times. For this final exodus, there will be those who will come together and those left behind. There will be those who will represent set apartness and those who will be outside the gathering. The final exodus approaches. My brothers and sisters, time is of the essence. Ask questions. Seek answers. Seek to discern what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to you. Help me, O Yashar'al, as I believe I am charged with contributing towards the gathering of the set-apart children of Yashar'al in the Western Hemisphere before going across the Atlantic Ocean. Help me, O Yashar'al. Make known your abilities, your skills. There are many details. There's much work to be done. The skills that you have acquired, the resources that you have acquired are for a reason. Seek to discern what that reason is. At the very least, if you're not sure what to do, O Yashar'al, contribute financially. There's no amount too small. I have a cash app. The cash tag is White Robes Family. White Robes Family. Email me. Visit Watchman.com. There are ways to reach out, and I will respond. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. My prayer for you, for us, is that we grow in discerning the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua, and that we learn to act timely, correctly, that we understand the dynamics of this harvest, that we understand the difference between wheat and tare as our eyes are open to such. My prayer, O Yashar'al, is that you are in good health, or at the very least, we have the strength, the power, the belief to endure whatsoever state we're in, that we seek continuously to worship and obey the Almighty Father, that we seek to discern his voice and respond. On that note, O Yashar'al, let's get busy. Busy as guided by the Almighty Father, not busybody as in doing things frivolously, erroneously, and wickedly. Let's get to work, my brother, my sister, my family. My name is Symmanayah, and I come to you in the name of Yahusha. And anything that is confirmed to be set apart coming from me, may the Almighty Father Yahuah get all esteem and credit. May Yahusha HaMashiach be lifted up, and we witness him draw all men to himself. And this is where we meet up. This is when we begin to recognize the formation of Ezekiel's wheels, and how as the formations get larger and larger, they will ultimately reach that place around the true Mount Sinai. In the name of Yahusha, I come to you. Pray on these matters, O Yashar'al. Let's get to work, my brother, my sister, my family. On that note, I say to you, much shalom.